I definitely need to do a taste test. So let's have a bite of this corn fresh off the cob, as fresh as you can get. We are already in late August here in our community garden. And that little spot over there, that corn, that's our corn. And we're gonna see how well it did. We've really left it alone all season long. And I'm excited to see what kind of corn we got. I'm hopeful too. Guten gardening, everybody. Well, our community garden this year has been another experiment, I'll say, because this season and this summer, really, you've watched our channel, you know we've been gone for over a month of the summer. So everything here has really been left to its own devices. And when I say it's been left to its own devices, I mean we haven't been out here much at all. And so it's really had to take care of itself. Now, one of the things we did this season that causes me to say it's been a bit of an experiment is we laid out a whole bunch of black plastic to try to keep the weeds down, so we didn't really have to come out here and tend to this too much, because we knew we were going to be gone away this summer a lot. And I would say for us as a family, this summer has not disappointed at all. I want to say we've driven over 6,000 miles through the US, through Canada, Germany, the surrounding countries of Germany. It's been phenomenal. But what happens when you leave a garden for that period of time is the garden itself is reliant on just nature to come in and water, nature to come in and take care of everything, because I didn't have anybody else out here taking care of this while I was gone. So I'm gonna get in the garden here and see how our corn did. We have two different varieties of corn. We'll deal with the winter squash later on. So the two varieties of corn we planted are Nirvana Hybrid. So this is Nirvana Hybrid. And we also planted an early extra sweet hybrid corn as well. Now, the Nirvana Hybrid is supposed to get, from my understanding, 6 to 7 feet tall, and the early extra sweet is supposed to be 5 to 6 feet tall. I don't see any corn in here much above 5 feet. But I do see lots of corn on here. We'll see what that means. The Nirvana Hybrid is supposed to be a bicolor corn, and I grew that on the farther end here. And the extra sweet, the early extra sweet hybrid, is a yellow corn, and that's closer to me here. So, let's get in and see how well it pollinated. Let's see how well it grew. I'm really excited. I'm really hopeful. I mean, I love our corn. Now, we just grow corn here at the community garden. We do not grow it at home any longer. It just takes up too much space. We've had too much bad luck. But again, we haven't really been watching this. I'm going to open up this first one. Let's see what pollination looks like. Let's see what the corn itself looks like. All right, up at the top, I can already see it didn't get pollinated all the way. However, inside here is looking pretty sharp. Now, one thing I was a little bit worried about, and there you go. You see the yellow? Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. And I'm going to try some of this too. I'm going to taste it, see how it goes. Now, both of these corn varieties are SH2, which means they can be grown together. One of the things I was a little bit worried about is they're supposed to be about 70-day varieties, and I knew that going on our trip was going to put us over that 70 days. So we're actually at about 80 days right now, but they weren't ready when we left. And so there's nothing I could really do about that. I tried to plan out the planting time, but you know, nature takes care of things in the way that it wants to. So here's our first yellow. Let's go get a bicolor. Well, this is, as you can see, about, I mean, the tallest ones I'm seeing right over here are just over 6 feet. So I don't know, but definitely the variety here that's supposed to be a little bit taller did get a little bit taller, although I can't say that it's exponentially taller. Exponentially, I can say words. All right, let's pull one of these off. I don't see anything here that's massive right now, but again, as long as, ooh, that's pretty. As long as it comes out and it tastes amazing, and these both of these varieties are supposed to be nice and sweet, extra sweet actually. I don't really care too much if we get really good tasting corn. Oh, take a look at that. Let's move over so I can try to show you this a little bit out of the sun. Well, there is very little shade out here. I'm actually underneath the bumper of my car right now just to try to give you a difference here. You can see the yellow and the white, the bicolor aspect of this versus the yellow here. But I definitely need to do a taste test So let's have a bite of this corn fresh off the cob, as fresh as you can get. Well, there's no good way for me to get lighting or shade out here at all to sample this in, but I'll just have to trust me which one's which if you can't tell the difference. This is the early extra sweet hybrid. So this is the yellow one I'm gonna try first. Oh, that is so sweet. I can tell you, excuse me, I can tell you though, the kernels are a little bit harder because it's been on there a little bit long, but it's not to a point where it's ruined. I definitely need to get this harvested right away. It's not ruined, it's still so delicious. Oh man, that's incredible. All right, let's try our Nirvana hybrid, this bicolor corn. Bicolor, here we go. Oh, wow. Okay. It's not as sweet. It's actually not quite as sweet, but it's so tender. Chew with your mouth closed. It's so tender and delicious. By the way, if you, I got the silk all over the place. If you are somebody who, we cut a lot of our corn off the cob. We eat some on the cob. I love it on the cob, but we freeze a lot of our corn. But if you're somebody who cooks it on the cob, how long do you leave it in the boiling water? That's a question I have. Some people leave it in there for a really long time. I think it gets soggy. I don't think it actually needs very much time. And obviously, as you can see, I'm eating it raw right now. I've chosen well. The varieties that I've chosen are gonna be fantastic. Let's go ahead and get some more of this harvested off of here. And I want to comment on something else that I noticed here that I think is really important. And that is that last season, we had to come in and replant about half of our corn because it had such a dry start to the season that we couldn't actually, it just didn't germinate. But this season we had such a wet start, we had no problem with it germinating at all. So you can see how full these rows are. And actually you can see where I switch over. I think you can see it, the taller corn, it's actually a little darker green as well. And I'm glad I got more of this variety, the bicolor variety, because I think the kids are gonna like it a little bit more. Now you see all the weeds down in here? Can you imagine if I didn't have the plastic? Last season, just walking through these rows was impossible. It's clearly not gonna be a problem this time around. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna pull up the corn as I go. We're gonna see if we got any huitlacoche this season. That's an important piece here too, because see, this is one that really didn't pollinate well. Actually, let me show you what it looks like when the corn doesn't fully pollinate here. Just in case you've ever wondered why your corn looks the way it looks. When this happens sometimes, the corn down here, instead of having that really symmetrical looking corn the whole way down, the kernels, symmetrical kernels, you see they get a little larger, a little smaller, but I mean, it's still delicious. I can still harvest all of this off here and enjoy it, but you can feel it through the exterior, through the husk here, when something hasn't fully pollinated well. And I did leave about 14 or 15 inches in between rows, so I think that's important to note. And I gave about 5 or 6 inches in between each of the corn plants themselves here. Try not to plant it too thickly, but I tried to give enough here so that it shouldn't have any problem with that pollination. And you'll notice, and I'm going to lift you way up above my head now so you can see a shot that I can't even see. You'll notice that nothing's blown over, even though we had some massive windstorms this season. Well, I can't say nothing. I see a couple of stalks that blew over a little bit, but I'd say we just got the timing right. Because when this was tall enough that it would have actually blown over, those storms for the most part had passed. So yeah, I think we got fortunate in that regard. And wind is one of the things that's caused us to have some huitlacoche in the past. So I don't know if we'll have any of that this time around. Again, we're trying to grow corn, not huitlacoche, although can't complain when you get some huitlacoche either. If you don't know what that is, you got to check out our video. And actually, we have a couple of different videos on huitlacoche, or some people call it corn smut, or like a corn mushroom. It's not so popular here in the US, but it is definitely popular outside the US. Uh-oh, I found it. We've got our huitlacoche. All right, this one looks like it's a little bit on the older side. Here, I'm just trying to get in here. You see this alien looking stuff in here, these kernels, these galls. Let me pull one of them off. Oh, see, yeah, this is old. It's already busted open, so I'm not gonna be eating this. But now that you've seen it, this chaos, this gray stuff, now that you've seen it, you gotta check out our video to understand exactly what this stuff is and why people would wanna eat this. But spoiler alert, it is delicious. I gotta tell you, it's so much easier to move in here without all those massive weeds. And these are looking pretty good overall. Again, some smaller ones for sure, but most of these, even on the smaller side, here, look at this over here. Even on the smaller size, I should say, they're nice and full. So that's gonna be great. That's gonna bode really well for storage, I think. Oh yeah, doesn't that look amazing? All right, this huitlacoche looks a little bit better. I'm gonna pull this piece off. Yeah, that one's not as old. Let's try it out. Now, believe it or not, this huitlacoche is actually more nutritionally dense than your corn. Very earthy taste. Probably turn my tongue black. Oh, it's so good. A little bit of corn there, a little bit of earth. It's phenomenal. Check out those videos. Well, so far I've harvested 110 ears of this first variety, and I still have a whole bunch left to go. This is definitely going to be our best overall harvest in terms of numbers. We'll see what the other variety looks like in terms of size, but most of these aren't huge. But again, they're filled with sweet, sweet corn. Well over 300 ears of corn later, again, some of them on the smaller side, and I gotta say that the bicolor corn way outperformed the yellow corn in terms of overall production. There was a lot more huitlacoche with the yellow corn for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the side of the garden, but definitely our bicolor corn is the corn that we would go with in the future as well. But I'm really happy with the production. It was definitely our biggest in terms of the amount of corn that we've gotten so far. You can see I've just knocked everything over in here. I'm going to come back through and pick it all up. And in the near future, we'll come out and harvest our winter squash. It looks like they need to be watered, so I'm going to take care of that right now. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Got a little corn harvest in your future. Let us know, or if you've already harvested or you have a favorite variety of corn, let us know that as well. It feels so good to get out here and eat some of that, get some of that home to preserve. But we'll also eat some of that tonight on the cob. I do want to show you something though. You know, our corn, like I said, maybe 5 feet tall. We've got one of the gardeners over here whose corn is, in comparison to me, and I'm not going to step too close, got to be 10 feet tall at least. You see that? But there's this one gigantic stalk of corn I've been looking at all day. It's kind of crazy. It's got to be 14, 15 feet tall. You got to see this. I'm so impressed with it. Now, they long ago harvested the corn off of it, but it's just so gigantic. It keeps going and going and going. And look at the roots that have started out on the side. If I didn't know any better, this looks more like bamboo than corn in part. And actually, I'm gonna come right over here because I can see one of the ears anyway that they didn't harvest has turned into huitlacoche. That's gotta be the tallest corn stalk I have ever seen, and I have no idea the variety. And look at all the other little babies right beside it that haven't been harvested. All right, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, you're with us. You are good to grow.